Hello, my loves. I am Dr. Emma Nagy, and this is the My Lighter Way podcast. This is the ultimate self-development podcast where we'll dive deep into all things motherhood, mindset, and manifestation to create a life you are in love with. So let's dive in and get ready to expand the ripple effect you have in this world. Hello, and welcome to a solo episode of the My Light Away podcast. And I am super pumped to just be recording this and chatting with you guys. And today's episode is going to be around how to get your mindset ready before the newborn stage. So if you are newer to the podcast, you will know, or you will not know this. And if you are not newer, you will probably be familiar with where I'm coming from with this, because you guys know I am huge on preparing yourself during pregnancy for early motherhood. I feel as though there are so many reasons for this, but I feel as though traditionally that's just like not really how we're taught to prep for motherhood, right? Like, the focus is very much on baby, which of course is like so important to prepare for them. And they are, they're a curveball, right? Like, there is so much to learn around babies and so much out there around like what you need to do to have, like what you need to buy, what you need to have in order, what you have to learn about taking care of babies during pregnancy. And there are whole courses and programs around that, right? Like prenatal classes. Your doctor's appointments or midwife appointments are probably really geared towards like the physical aspects of pregnancy, but also getting ready for baby itself, or at least mine were anyway. I know it really varies from healthcare professional to healthcare professional and also where you are in the world, but so much is geared around babies. And I just noticed this huge gap that moms are just kind of left to figure things out as we go. And yes, we are very capable powerhouse women, but very capable powerhouse women also tend to enjoy being proactive. And that is where I come in, and just the whole philosophy behind My Lighter Way. It's, there is so much power in the mom being empowered too, right? Like when we equip ourselves with amazing skills, amazing strategies, up our self-love, look at things from a personal growth perspective. I feel as though we just live in a way that models so much goodness, so much resilience, so much strength to our little ones. So I am just so excited to be able to share with you guys all the different ways that you can prepare yourself for baby. And pregnancy is just the best time to do that, because if you're figuring out, leaving all of your time and energy, okay, how do I want to say this? Like, if you are waiting until the postpartum period, and I say postpartum a lot, I don't mean postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety. I use that term when you guys hear me say it, unless I specifically say postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety. I'm talking about the time period after baby is born. And I know there is a lot of stigma associated with the word postpartum. So sometimes I also try and mix in the word newborn stage, because I feel like it's less loaded. And yeah, I feel like a lot of moms worry about their mental health in the postpartum period, and people have just like shortened postpartum anxiety or postpartum depression to just postpartum and call that period by that name. But anyway, that's probably even like a whole other podcast around that. But there are so many amazing things that we can do during pregnancy to prepare ourselves for the newborn stage. And I'm excited to share with you some of my favorites today. Okay, so let's go right into it. The very first way to get your mindset ready for motherhood while you're still pregnant, and this one might sound like the most simple, but it possibly is the most important, and it is to raise your awareness. So what do I mean by raise your awareness? I am talking about your self-awareness. And this piece is huge. And I feel like even if you're a pretty self-aware person, there are always different levels to go to with this. Like, I just feel like we can always bring ourselves to new heights when it comes to raising our self-awareness. Like, there's always more we can learn about ourselves, more we can unpack. And if you've been on like a self-healing personal growth journey for a while, you will know that there are always different layers to go through. So even if certain things come up over and over again, like say, this is popping into my head, like say if you have anxiety, right? Or you tend to have anxious thought patterns, what you'll notice probably is that some of those patterns pop up over and over again. And while that can seem super frustrating, you bringing awareness to that and then looking for the lesson each time, you're bringing awareness to maybe like a different aspect that you haven't noticed before, or something just clicks on a whole new level. And so even though it can be frustrating for some of the same things that we're healing or working on to pop up over and over again, there is a chance for us to bring awareness there and to kind of, just heal in a different way, on a deeper level or on a new level. And so when I say raise your awareness, there are so many things you can do that in relation to, but this episode is all around mindset. So I'm going to focus on that. But of course, your body is also a key piece to raise your awareness around. And chances are, if you are pregnant right now, which you probably are if you're listening to this, you have raised your awareness in some way around your body in the process of getting pregnant or since being pregnant. And I know that pregnancy brings hyper awareness to our bodies, and depending on how far along you are in your pregnancy, but when your baby starts to move, like they're constantly bringing your awareness back to your body as well, right? Like throughout the day, which is quite cool. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe that's just like a little way of baby helping you to get more in touch with your body. But getting in touch and raising our awareness around our mindset is huge too. And it is huge during pregnancy because what you can do in pregnancy while there's like pregnancy brain and like mom brain can start early. And, while certain phases of pregnancy, you experience more tiredness and you probably have things going on in your life already. Like you're probably working, you probably have other responsibilities in life, yet it still is a time where you have some space and you have some mental space. So with that space and energy that you do have, if you can bring awareness to things like your mood, your energy, what drains your energy, what gives you energy, what helps your mood, what are the things that tend to kind of make your mood dip. If you can raise awareness about those things and the patterns that are unique to you, that self-awareness can be so helpful in the newborn stage. Because in the newborn stage, you guys know, this is something I feel like moms say to me the most when I ask them about, what their fears are for the newborn stage or what are they worried about. One of the biggest things is around lack of sleep. And so if you can bring awareness to the things that drain your energy, boost your energy, if you're so well connected to your thought patterns, right? Anxious thoughts, if you're able to bring your awareness to anxious thought cycles as they happen and then bring yourself out of that, you're just saving yourself so much time and energy. And there are so many ways that you can practice this during pregnancy. And I actually include some of the best and some of the ones that I mentioned in the My Lighter Motherhood course. So if you haven't checked that course out yet, it's so amazing and innovative, and it really prepares you and your mindset for motherhood while you're still pregnant. And there is power in not just listening to me, like rhyme things off, but actually making space to practice them for yourself, right? So that by the time you're a mom, they become second nature. Because knowledge is, so helpful, but when you put certain things into practice, that's when it creates shifts in your day-to-day life. And that's what I help you with in the course, is to make those shifts in your day-to-day life during pregnancy, so that it's one less mental layer to add in the foggy newborn stage, right? You have the tools to feel more mentally clear, and your awareness is so on point that you can assess and identify what is going on and what you need in the moment so much quicker in the newborn stage, and then get your needs met quicker, and then you're happier, baby's happier. It's just such an important and good combo to have, just all around. So however you love to raise your awareness, whether it's self-reflection, journaling, taking a course, working with a counselor, working with a mentor, there are so many different ways that you can raise your awareness in pregnancy. And I always just encourage you to do it in the way that resonates best with you and feels supportive to you and your needs. So let's move on to number 2. Number 2 is around, and again, it's like how to get your mindset ready before baby, right? Like before the newborn stage. Another key piece is to create and develop healthy expectations around what the newborn stage actually looks like. I feel like, there are different ways of doing this, but having healthy expectations, and I don't mean, like when people are like, here's the truth, like here's like the real stuff that they won't tell you, and it's kind of like with like a tone of, I don't know, like bitterness. Do you know what I mean? I find often what follows that kind of vibe is something pretty like negative and disempowering. Sometimes it's helpful, and like often there's like a thread of truth in there. But I don't always find that those types of messages, like the way of getting info across, leaves me feeling like empowered and like ready to tackle it. It like leaves me feeling like, well, that sucks. That sucks. Like that, I don't want it to be inevitable that it's gonna suck, right? That's not what we're all about. Well, I feel like a healthy expectations are having an understanding of even like a range of experiences, right? Having an understanding of the spectrum of experiences, challenges, like of the early days, right? Because then there's also some like power in terms of knowing about the spectrum. And then if you experience challenges, you're not totally blindsided, or some challenges are extremely common, and there are amazing supports out there to help you specifically with those challenges. So it actually is empowering in many instances just to be aware of what those things could be in the early days and set yourself up for success, both by just knowing about them, but also maybe just lining up, or even just letting yourself know or committing to yourself that you're going to seek support if you run into these things. I personally go to the evidence, the science, the reputable sources to understand what to expect in the early days. And I personally, for my first pregnancy, just like scoured the research just to, just to understand things from this perspective of being a mom. Because in my previous work, I've, worked in maternal and child health, and I knew from the research, say, like what the common challenges of breastfeeding were. I knew from the research that actually most women do experience breastfeeding challenges. And one of the issues is that women don't realize to expect them to be that common. And then when challenges pop up, which is so common to happen, they lack like the confidence to know that that's like a normal thing that they can actually get through, or they think like something must be wrong with them or baby. And then that just like leads to, that's like not good for your mental health and can lead to all sorts of spirals that aren't healthy for the mom, right? So there are just, so even though I'd, done deep dives in the research and everything from my work, when I was becoming a mom, it was just looking at things from a whole new lens, right? And that's probably what you're finding now. It's you're looking at the research, the evidence, wherever you get your information from, trusted sources. Like you're looking at that now from a perspective of, oh my goodness, I'm going to be doing this stuff, right? And like, what skills do I need to learn now to set myself up for success? And you can develop some really good and realistic expectations from going to those sources. And they're normally presented in pretty factual ways, pretty objective ways, based on a lot of these sources, the most reputable ones, they are like a summary essentially of many, many research studies, right? Done in different populations, pulling from high quality evidence and research to create these like summaries or generalizations or even summaries specific to certain populations. So that for me is definitely a go-to. And I also think it's really important and valuable to set some expectations based on hearing stories from other women. And I feel like when you hear a range of other people's experiences, it can start to paint a more fulsome picture of what motherhood looks like. And for me, some of my favorite things to do in this regard were just talk to my closest friends. I was lucky enough to have some super close friends who had had babies before I did. And we have the kinds of like relationship and open conversations where we can truly, there is nothing really, I don't think there is nothing off limits. Like we can go there and ask all of the details. And so I loved being able to do that, because then I could ask details, like what is it really like after having birth and healing? Like what is it like? Or when you are giving birth, what was the feeling? Describe it to me in great detail. You can ask your friends stuff like this. And I would say something to keep in mind, I guess this is a disclaimer that is helpful, right? To keep in mind when listening to other people's stories, is that you can look to their stories for inspiration, but your story is unique and their story is unique. And it also, can be healthy to just have your own boundaries as you listen to other people's stories, especially if it's something that, I don't know, I was going to say, especially if it's something that you're like, oh my gosh, this is like a traumatic experience, or this is something that I wouldn't want to happen to me. I feel like with those kinds of stories, what is helpful is to be there as a friend, obviously, and offer support and help them feel seen and validated, and you can have a role that way. But just because someone else has experienced something super difficult, just remember that that's their story, right? your story is your own. So I just feel like sometimes, especially with birth stories, people are really quick to share not even their own, but like other people's stories that they view as like negative or shocking in some way. And they're kind of sharing it as like, I don't know, even kind of in like a gossipy way, like, oh my gosh, like you'll never believe this. Or like, oh, I know someone who gave birth and like this happened. And they're kind of saying it for the shock value. I feel like sometimes the way like the news we choose to share, the stories we choose to share, sometimes are coming from that place and not like not a place only just of sharing or helping someone, right? Or just sharing your experience. And a lot of pregnant women, they feel like they get a lot of unsolicited birth stories, and the majority of them are negative, or at least the majority of women I've talked to, that has been their experience. And so what helps them is to set some boundaries around stories. And you can do that for postpartum too, like the newborn stage. And just know that no matter what, your story is your own. And you can create some healthy expectations using women's stories. And I feel like using your discernment, listening to the stories also that align with the type of motherhood experience you want to have is so powerful, because it shows you what is possible. And that actually leads into my third strategy for how to get your mindset ready before the newborn stage. And that is to get your conscious and subconscious mind on board. So what the heck do I mean by that? Chances are, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably love the mindset work like I do and have an idea of what I mean when I say conscious and subconscious. And I feel like mindset work, you need both, right? Like there are things that we are conscious of, that we are aware of, and then there are elements of our subconscious that kind of ripple out and then impact the way we live our life, right? Like we have beliefs that we might not be conscious of, fears as well, right? That can shape our experiences, shape our expectations for how things should be, shape our thoughts. So I feel like there is so much power in bringing awareness to what is conscious, right? Maybe bringing some subconscious beliefs to light through some of that deeper inner work. But you can also program your subconscious, right? Like there are some amazing strategies out there to do that. I personally, in pregnancy, loved hypnosis for programming my subconscious to feel so empowered and calm and confident going into birth and labor. And I feel like that is one of the biggest pieces that set me up for success when it came to preparing for a natural birth and then having 2 water births. The conscious and subconscious mind, getting them on board is really, really amazing. The fourth piece around prepping your mindset, getting it ready before the newborn stage, is to learn. And I really love this, and I feel like it ties in with all of the others, but I am like a lifelong learner. There's just like so much to be curious about, so much to learn. Sometimes like with a topic, the more you start to learn about it, the more you realize you're like, whoa, there is so much to go into here, so much to learn. And I feel like motherhood and preparing for it was definitely one of those times. And tell me what you have been experiencing in this regard and like how you have responded to this. Because I feel like it could be really overwhelming to a lot of people to be pregnant and to be thinking about the newborn stage and like everything you need to learn about baby, right? Or to be pregnant and learning about, what do you need? What do you need to buy? What do you need to learn about feeding? Like, what supplies do you need, right? And I don't know about you, but I actually found it so fun to learn about all of those things. And I was just like a little sponge that would read from, read the research, read the books, like even like read those classic, like what to expect books, read about hypnobirthing, learn hypnobirthing. There was just so much to learn. And then with my second pregnancy, I went so deep into the learning about myself mode. And I was just like, if I could have added that onto my first pregnancy, I feel like I would have been on fire as a first-time mom. Because that was like so important and such an amazing layer of adding onto things. Like your self-connection is so important. And even before I'd had kids, I'd heard other moms say this, especially I feel like some of my friends, I have some friends who are like in their 50s, and they said to me like, they like really lost their connection with themselves over the years just by pouring so much of themselves into their children and their families. And I even found like after the first couple of years with my first, I started to lose my self-connection, and not because I was just like, not because I was like coming from like a martyr role of like, I just give everything to my family. Not in that way at all, but actually because I just loved motherhood and like loved my son and like loved and cherished it so much that I kind of like forgot about prioritizing myself because, I don't know, it just kind of happened. And then I started to strengthen that again because I do really value having a connection with myself. I think it's so important. I want to model that for my kids when they grow up so they're connected to themselves and in touch with their needs, and like their needs are worthy, like they are worthy of their desires. They're worthy of having their needs met, right? Like they're worthy of being seen and heard. And for me to be able to teach them that, I need to be so good at doing that for myself, right? And embodying that for myself. And so that is another amazing way that you can learn in pregnancy. It's like taking that look at yourself. And, if you're someone who also values just living in that way, being able to model that for your kids, being able to teach your kids that way, just learning about yourself is a really incredible thing that you can do to prep your mindset in pregnancy. And then number 5, and actually this really goes nicely from the last one. I didn't like think through the order in this way, but it's just flowing, so let's go with it. It's to up your emotional intelligence in pregnancy. This piece, like the last one, is huge for parenting and how incredible to be able to model emotional intelligence to our little ones and give them that skill, right? And I feel like even though you would think, that starts in like the toddler days, like you're like, I don't need to worry about that yet, like have a few years for that. Yes, that is true. Your emotional intelligence though, and I feel like your ability to regulate yourself, calm yourself. I don't know about you, but I just feel like our energy and our mood can be like felt by our babies. Like I really believe that. I feel like when we are calm, they calm more quickly. And I feel like coming from that place of like being more regulated in stressful situations, being able to move through emotions and back to like more of like a calm, regulated baseline. That's just like so good for our nervous system and our bodies and our minds, and just like our ability to cope and thrive through everyday life, to maintain like kind of more of a level baseline, but also possess the strength and the resilience and the confidence to be able to move through emotions, and particularly the uncomfortable ones, because those are the ones we tend to resist, right? So learning how to navigate those in a healthy way and learning to do that in pregnancy is freaking amazing, because in the newborn stage, with all the hormones, the lack of sleep, the changes that we're going through, pouring our time and energy into our little ones while doing our best to also take care of ourselves and heal, right? And taking that space for ourselves to give ourselves what we need along the way as well. All of those situations can be incredibly emotionally demanding. So being able to up your emotional intelligence in pregnancy just sets you up for one last thing you have to think about during the postpartum stage, because you just feel confident that you have got all of that. And we also have a section in the My Lighter Motherhood course all around emotions in the newborn stage and mastering that. And we even have like specific videos you can go to. There's one, it's like on the harder days. So just that day where you just want to boost, you don't want to think, you just want someone to help you. You just want to boost, or you just want to know what to do. You can just go to that video, receive that just energetic boost even from watching, but the tangible strategies that are in there, those tangible strategies can just be such a lovely piece of support in those times. And you don't have to make an appointment with anyone. You don't have to leave the house. You can just watch that video in that moment. The program is geared towards those who, I would say, don't have severe mental health concerns. I always recommend, booking an appointment, going to see a counselor, getting the support you need in those types of events. I'm talking about, the usual emotions or, the odd bad day, and just having that support in your back pocket just to plug into and be that boost for you. And number 5 on the top ways to get your mindset ready before the newborn stage. This one might sound a little bit light, a little bit frivolous, but it is to have fun. And like that feels like so corny even as I'm saying it. But seriously, have fun. Because when you have fun, especially with all of the other steps that I shared, right, around raising your awareness, having healthy expectations, learning, getting your conscious and subconscious mind on board, upping your emotional intelligence, when you're able to plug into things that help you do that in a way that is so fun, that, like, why not? Why not make this experience more fun for yourself, right? Because I feel like, you're probably learning about fairly serious things, like how to keep your baby alive when they're here, like those kinds of things that maybe do have like a more serious lens or are typically presented in a way with a more serious lens. But when you have fun with it, just like, why not, right? Why not do the pieces, even that I talked about today, that feel the most fun for you, right? Like if all the things I talked about today seem like, oh my gosh, Emma, where the heck do I start? I would say follow your fun. And that is an amazing way to learn, because then you're approaching things with curiosity, your mind is more open. And it's just a fun way to learn. And I so value that, and even just like love to share info in that way, in a way that is fun, is like, more accessible. It doesn't sound like reading a textbook, right? Like reading like a PowerPoint off the screen. Like I love to teach moms to get themselves ready for baby in a way that is actually fun and fits in with their life. And I want that for you as you're pregnant and you're tuning in to all the sources that you're tuning into to learn about motherhood. Follow your fun, because yes, there are some serious things that we need to learn about becoming mothers along the way. And yes, there are, serious like moments and real challenges and everything along the way. But why not let some more lightness and some more fun in too, right? So follow your fun. That is the note that I am going to leave you on. Let me know which of these 5 tips were your favorite. Actually, I think I gave you 6. And let me know how you're preparing in some of these ways. Like maybe there are some ways that I didn't mention today about getting your mindset ready. And I just adore talking about this stuff and like being excited with you. So send me a message at mylightaway on Instagram. The newborn stage shouldn't be something you just get through and suffer through. It should be something that you get to thrive through and actually enjoy and take it for the amazingness, the opportunities for growth, the potential it has to offer. You might have the intention of flowing into motherhood, figuring it out as you go, and of course you are capable, but why not allow in some supports to help make this time easier on yourself, to set up some really empowering expectations and beliefs around what this time gets to look like for you, and to learn some strategies and put some plans in place so that you actually enjoy it and have go-to things in the moment in the newborn stage to help make this time feel a little bit lighter and get you back more quickly mentally to being able to soak in and enjoy this time with your little one, all while taking really amazing, lovely care of yourself with supports that actually feel really fun and wonderful along the way. Because you're definitely not alone in this. There are amazing supports out there to help you, and My Lighter Motherhood is one of them. And I can't wait for you to learn more about it, and I'd invite you to reach out to me if you have any questions at all. And this is a precious time, and anyone who takes it, I truly want to, help you make sure you're confident in making this decision and make sure it's a good fit for you. Make sure it will be supportive to you. Make sure it's something that is taking away from your mental load instead of adding it, because that is the intention of this course. It is actually a course that you don't have to take perfectly. You don't even have to take it in order unless you're like a type A person that is the way, that is the only way you want to take it. But it's the course you don't have to do perfectly, and you are going to get exactly what you need from it. I truly believe that. So I encourage people to have fun with it. Use your intuition in terms of even how you take the course, and use your intuition to help you decide if this is the support that you have not even been knowing that you have been calling in to help make this time even more fun, even more light, and enjoy it, because I know you want to.
Thank you so much for listening. I would love to hear how you felt inspired in today's episode. Let me know at My Light Away on Instagram. And to help me expand the ripple effect of this podcast even more, please subscribe, leave a rating and review, or share it with a friend who loves self-development too. Thanks, my loves. I can't wait to hear from you.